Hello everyone, and this is my review for Monday Night Raw on June the 27th, 2016, and what can you really say about this show other than it was a whole bunch of tease for adding to the main event for Battleground, and, well, there's a lot of countouts. Well, by that, there was really only two, but still, they seem to like the countout victory as of late. But let's start right at the beginning of the show, because there was some good stuff, and there was some, some other other things that maybe not so good about the show to go along with it. Maybe some weird things to go along with that side too. So they started off the show with Rollins coming out, and I like this. I like this aspect that they give it like a real feel to the whole situation with Roman Reigns getting suspended and Seth Rollins coming out there like lobbying to make it a one-on-one match with Dean Ambrose and himself at the pay-per-view. But then out of nowhere you get an interruption from, well, I won't say out of nowhere, but you obviously get interrupted by Dean Ambrose. They start bickering back and forth. Not too much going on here. Then almost out of the blue here, you get an interruption by AJ Styles and Cena, eventually both of them trying to lobby their way into a title match to make it like a fatal five-way or something in that sense. It came out of left field, honestly, and I feel like they did this. I feel like they did this purposefully just for this Raw to kind of tease everybody. Tease everyone to adding to maybe they're going to add people to the main event, maybe they're going to hold off on the Shield triple threat until later on, but as you saw later on the night, and we'll talk about those a little bit later, that wasn't really the case. So like the segment itself was interesting enough. I mean, Stephanie eventually comes out, makes Cena and Rollins, and you have Dean Ambrose and AJ Styles for later in the night. Also, she begins voicing her displeasure about Dean Ambrose not being a corporate enough person to hold the title or something in that sense. Just voicing her displeasure that Dean Ambrose is the champion. She does that a little bit later on in an interview segment with Dean Ambrose as well. Not a bad segment overall, but ultimately, what does it do? Outside of, potentially tease that, maybe this is just, maybe they're going to add something to the main event, or that they were going to just use this as a way to continue building the Cena and AJ Styles for you to go along with it, and giving that little tease about the whole, putting more people in the main event for Battleground. So, like I said, I'll talk about that a little bit later on. Afterwards, you have Paige and Sasha Banks going up against Dana Brooke and Charlotte. And, overall, this tag match, not too bad. It kind of went the route that you figured it would go. They made this tag match here to put Sasha over a little bit more, and also for her not to go over on Charlotte quite yet in the terms of getting a victory in some way, shape, or form, because she gets the tap-out victory with on Dana Brooke. Overall, like I said, not a bad match. It's the beginnings of something here. It's the whole beginnings of something with Charlotte and Sasha Banks down the road. So not much to really say about it, but all in all, not really that bad either to go along with it. Just a nice little way for them to continue on in a slow fashion with this particular storyline. So after this match, you have Titus ONeil going up against Rusev again. They start out brawling just like last week. You figure that, it's like, are they going the exact same route as last week? No. The match actually gets started, and these two guys are really good at being like hard hitters. And they did put some good hard-hitting spots inside this match. I wouldn't say the match was overly great, but it eventually leads to Titus ONeil getting a count-out victory. And like I said, this is where I feel like they're beginning to like the count-out victory in the terms of getting a win in some way, because you see it multiple times tonight, and I'll talk about that in a little bit to go along with it. But like I said, match okay, they're not great together, but it continues on the storyline with Titus getting a count-out victory, and these guys can put on some decent hard-hitting spots to go along with it, so it's not that bad in the end. You had Kane backstage trying to talk to Stephanie about becoming the general manager of SmackDown. So they're continuing on with that whole draft storyline, and the Miz walks up with Maurice, and they're beginning to talk to Stephanie almost in a begrudging way. It's like, where's the red carpet? Where's my special treatments for being a movie star or anything like that? The typical Miz stuff. Miz is great on the mic. What can you say? He's great on the microphone to go along with everything. And just a great overall heel. I like the aspect that Kane's he's been away for more than 30 days. Isn't there a rule about that in the WWE handbook or in the rule book? And he actually quotes the actual, the rule about it, or at least comes up with a crazy number for the rule about the 30 days. And if, on that aspect, I like that aspect that they bring it in there, even though they say, they use it whenever they really feel like using it. It's not actually a thing. There's no consistency about it, but kind of nice that they brought it into that aspect on there. Title match made for later in the night where Miz has to defend against a mystery opponent. So up next was the John Cena Seth Rollins match, and honestly, really good match here. And this is the begin. Like these guys have put on really good matches in the past and everything, but it ended out going exactly as I thought it would end up going. The Club and AJ Styles and the Club come out to distract Cena, giving Rollins the victory with pedigree. And this was that beginnings of, okay, we see where they're going with this. They're using these two matches to basically further this feud on a little bit longer in some way, shape, or form. But all in all, like I said, not a bad match. A really good match between these two guys. They put on good matches each and every time that they're out there. Enzo and Cass had a match with a couple local guys. Very quick squash match as they were beginning to finish off their catchphrases at the end. Actually, before the match, it was like you knew the match was going to be quick because they decided we're riding the wave of the fans, and they wanted them this is the one time that the whole wave getting around the arena is not a sign of boredom. It was, Enzo and Cass bringing the crowd into it in some way. So the crowd starts doing the wave and everything like that. The social outcasts interrupt while they're trying to finish off their catchphrase after the match. And basically, they get the social outcasts get fended off like it was almost nothing. Like, it was literally nothing. And don't know where they're really going with this. They cut a decent promo between all sides here, but what's the point of this? They already got fended off. Let's see. We'll see where they go with it, but I don't think there's going to be much to it afterwards. You had more Darren Young and Bob Backlund segments, and I'm going to be completely honest. At this point, I haven't talked about it much because it's they've just been segments. But now they've been segments for about 4 or 5, maybe 6 weeks now. At first, they started out great. I thought they were fun and good ways of, getting this dynamic between Darren Young and Bob Backlund, two contrast styles of new school and old school, and as they've gotten further along, and it seems like they're getting closer and closer to probably bringing this to TV. They've kind of becoming very, very lackluster. Though it's I feel like the storyline that they're going is okay, you have these two guys that are very contrasting in styles, and they're meshing them together and kind of bringing them closer. That's what that feels like the storyline's been going with. But some of the segments where they're still very clashing. Away from each other as this whole life coach thing from Bob Backlund to Darren Young, and they want to make Darren Young great again. When was he ever great? I don't know. In that case, but they're doing that whole let's make Darren Young great again and everything on there. It was some of these segments just kind of went way off the rails and just didn't really come off as interesting at all, and I think this one's kind of dying before it started. Like I said, I thought they started out great. Like the Bob Backlund and Darren Young characters, trying to mesh them together, I thought was working out well, and then they kind of started going downhill as the segments continue to go on. So we'll see how everything goes. I feel like they'll probably bring it to TV at some point. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, after what happened with the Rising Stars. Or not the Rising Stars, the Shining Stars with Epico and Primo not even being on TV again after their one match. We'll see where they go with it. We'll see where they go with it and everything, and see if they're willing to take a chance on it in some way, shape, or form. You had Summer Rae, and it was supposed to be Summer Rae versus Becky Lynch, but I like the aspect here. You have Natty out on commentary. And instead of focusing on the match, like Becky Lynch has been attacked twice by Natalya, once at the pay-per-view, once at Raw. So you have Natalya out there. So instead of just even caring about the match, Becky Lynch just goes straight after Natalya. I actually like that aspect of it. She wants to garner a little bit of revenge for what happened. Both of them brawl, and the match obviously doesn't end up happening. And this is like that builder for their feud coming down the road here. So you have like two different women's feuds going on. The beginnings of Sasha Banks and Charlotte, which is going to be a slower burn, and this one that's kind of already building up a little bit with Natalya and Becky Lynch. And we'll see how everything goes there. I feel like this is going to be I won't say completely different, but it's going to be a nice way of seeing Natty work as a heel again, and the continuation of Becky Lynch she garners a very good reaction from the crowd, and she works out well in the babyface role. So we'll see how everything goes with this particular feud. It's nice to see multiple feuds through the women's division at this point in time. You had the highlight reel with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Their promo was not... It wasn't anything different than what you've heard from them in the past in any way. It wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination, just nothing really different about it. It announces their match for Battleground between the two of them because they feel... Because like Sami Zayn puts it, it's like the two of them need to end it to continue on with their careers in some way, shape, or form. So... you get that, and then you also have this like beginnings of maybe like a Jericho versus Sami Zayn or a Jericho versus Kevin Owens storyline going, because you have Jericho just sitting out there as like bask in the greatness that is Jericho. And the one touch that I liked about it was that because how they've built the feud, it was like they raised the TV up before it even like got going with anything. So Jericho throws out there, it's like I had them raise the Jeritron 6500 because I know what's going to happen between the two of you. Though the two of them never even fight, because when Jericho's like basking in everything, that gloating about himself in every way, shape, or form, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens just kind of look at him, super kick him, and then stare down each other. I like that because the whole aspect is that Jericho is trying to steal the spotlight of everything, and these two just brought it right back to them and take Jericho out of the equation. I actually like the segment in the end. The promo between the two of them wasn't much different than what you've normally seen from them, but not a bad promo to go along with it. So Miz had to defend the Intercontinental title against Kane. That was the mystery opponent. Demon Kane. Not Corporate Kane, Demon Kane. Match ended up being not much of anything. Maurice falls down and is starting to, say her ankle's injured. So Miz carries her off. Count out victory, number 2 of the night. And that makes like 3 in the last couple shows as well. I think there was one on SmackDown to go along with it. But in the backstage, it's like you see like Miz is trying to carry Maurice or something in that sense, like trying to help her out in the backstage, and then she reveals that she was just acting and everything like that. Not a bad way of going on that aspect. You figured I mean, you obviously figured it was going to be a feigned injury or something in that sense. But I like how they acknowledged it on TV that, and they waited until they got backstage. It wasn't like a thing that they did out in the middle of the ring as well to go along with it. I like how they acknowledged it, like, oh, I'm just acting. In that sense of everything. So not a bad segment, but nothing really in the end. We'll see if this. But we'll also have to see if this is going to be an actual feud down the road here to go along with it. I'm not sure if I'm going to be interested in watching the two of them have a feud, but it might be one down the road. So next was pretty much an unpromoted match between Apollo Crews and Cesaro going up against Alberto Del Rio and Sheamus. Sheamus is kind of being this whole loner style person, like he was not... He was trying to avoid tagging Del Rio at all costs. He was, degrading him in every way to go along with it. So it ends up costing Sheamus the match because Del Rio eventually does tag in. When he has Apollo Crews outside the ring, he decides to tag Sheamus in aggressively and then do the enziguri to him. So, which, obviously ends out giving... Apollo Crews the win. I love the spin out powerbomb that he has, and I'm glad that they actually had him do it to Sheamus here because it showed, again, it's a great strength spot for Apollo Crews, so it at least gives him that ability to show that at that point in time. But otherwise, kind of a mad match. It really wasn't there. The fans weren't really into that all that much to go along with it. So I'm just turning the page because I have a couple extra notes on the back of the page. That's right. If you see me looking down, it's because I have notes right in front of me. The next segment was the New Day imitating the Wyatt family. And I'm going to go off and say this was actually kind of entertaining to go along with it. I like where they're going with this. Obviously, the New Day come out and do their normal shtick, like as they're imitating the Wyatt family. They did the backstage thing, and then they changed up everything to do the New Day stuff to go along with it. And then, of course, the Wyatts do come out to have to rebut, and they go on this whole aspect again of this, like either Xavier, like they're going through the whole like positive, the power of positivity with the New Day, and Bray Wyatt go off and say it's just a farce, and everything like that. Like I said, good stuff from Bray Wyatt. The promo itself, like I'm trying to come up with the words itself here, but the promo came off really well because he was like saying he doesn't necessarily say what the people want to say, but it's what they need to hear, and saying that all New Day does is like tell the fans like what they want to hear, and the world's not all rainbows and unicorns and everything to that aspect. Not bad stuff here. I like the whole interaction between the two of them, though I still feel like the New Day versus the Club was kind of where they were supposed to be going, but this isn't that bad either right now. I'm not gonna lie, this is not that bad, and they're playing off of that whole aspect of what's gonna happen with Xavier Woods, because you have this back out there. It's either like he's getting into some kind of trance whenever Bray Wyatt's out there, or he's intimidated by Bray or something in that sense. And you even saw backstage where New Day was trying to do an interview with Renee Young, and it's like Xavier's just completely different with the Wyatt family around, and it's a nice way of going. I'm interested to see where this actually goes and how they're going to make everything work in the end. So this brings us to the main event of the night. And I'll also give the full opinion on that, on how I felt about that to go along with it. Dean Ambrose and AJ Styles. Good match. I thought this match was good. The whole aspect, Cena does come out in the end and return the favor. The Club comes out to look like they're gonna help AJ Styles. Cena comes out, gets rid of the Club, makes them look a little bit weak at that time because one person taking out two, though they kind of get theirs back a little bit later. But also causing the distraction that allows Dean Ambrose to get the victory. The things that I really, really liked about this match, the match itself is actually kind of good, but you had Seth Rollins on commentary for the entire match, and you had him it's like you had him in this like conflicting area of I don't want it to be any more than a triple threat match, so I want Dean Ambrose to win. But he completely voices his displeasures about having to root for Dean Ambrose the entire match. I absolutely love the commentary here. Seth Rollins doing a great job of putting over the aspect as like, all I want is it to stay a triple threat. So he has to root for Dean Ambrose, but he absolutely hates the fact that he has to root for Dean Ambrose to win the match. So I thought that came off great. After the match, basically heels roll over everybody here. Seth Rollins comes in, does the pedigree to Dean Ambrose as the club begin to beat down John Cena, and Gallows and Anderson do the Magic Killer on the top of the rampway, while Seth Rollins does one more pedigree inside the ring, standing over with the title to go along with it. Not a bad way of going. Like I said, the club kind of gets theirs back by being made look weak a little bit by Cena beating, at least temporarily taking out Gallows and Anderson to cause the distraction on AJ Styles. They get that back a little bit. But overall, the segment, it was exactly what I thought it was going to be. In the end, it's like, oh, they're teasing putting people in. And that's all it was. It was pretty much there to further the Cena AJ Styles feud, which, I mean, in the end, it's not a bad thing, but you're also using like your main events to do that as well. So not all that great of an aspect to it to go along with it. Overall, Raw this week, a couple meh matches, and matches that were just like, why were they there? For certain senses of the word. It looks like the beginnings of a Miz and Kane feud, which, okay. I mean, at least we got the beginnings of Sasha Banks and Charlotte, and then continuing on that a little bit. And the Becky Lynch Natalya feud actually is kind of interesting to watch, where they're going with everything. The New Day stuff with the Wyatts I thought was actually quite good to go along with it. And, in the end, like I said, they kind of used their main event guys with Ambrose and Rollins to further Cena and AJ Styles, which is a good and a bad thing, because you want to see more with the AJ Styles and John Cena feud, but do they have to use their main eventers to do that? And or like the guys who are supposed to be in the main event for the next pay-per-view to do that at this time. All in all, not a horrible show, not a great show to go along with it. But we'll see how everything goes. They still have more time before Battleground, and we'll see how they go with these storylines down in the very near future. So that is my review for Monday Night Raw this week. I thank you guys for watching, and have a great rest of your day.